This is Jo Gannon reporting for Alternate TV. I'm here at the Star Court Theatre where the production of Ophelia Thinks Harder for the fundraising for the Heartfelt House is just about to begin.
Childhood sexual abuse thrives on secrecy, and that is the good thing that I see coming through the Royal Commission, because I had people ring here that otherwise wouldn't have called. They say we now have it's like having the permission to speak up, and that is fantastic, because that is the strongest chain between the victim and the perpetrator. Yeah? They will make sure, what Vicky said earlier, they make the child feel responsible for the abuse, and that means that the child will keep the secret, and they will find that vulnerable part of the child to install that really strongly. So.
This is Jo Gannon from Alternate TV. I'm here at Heartfelt House, enjoying my cup of tea and the beautiful scones that the ladies bring in every week for the participants of the Heartfelt House. This unique organisation provides a striking companion for the Royal Commission. Heartfelt House has also kept comprehensive records of over 200 survivors over a 10-year period. There's a striking amount of facts coming out of the Royal Commission. It's almost overwhelming.
The thing that I would like to point out is that the Commission has gone into a response for the organisations where abuse has occurred. 69% of abuse has happened within the family. I was sexually assaulted by my stepfather when I was about 7. That's when it started, and kind of it didn't, well, I guess it went on for a few years, but for me I kind of struggled with who I was as a person. You know, who am I? Because while I was very, very close with my brothers and sisters, this was something that I couldn't tell them about, you know, and so that secrecy is kind of like, it kind of shuts your voice down.
I knew that Heartfelt House had to have that heart. It couldn't just be a clinic. I mean, there are what survivors missed out on when they were children was somebody to hold them and keep them safe. They haven't been able to trust the very people who were put on this earth to trust.
From being a very active sports person and being assaulted was very difficult, because in a way, particularly in the 1970s, young men were being encouraged to believe that how they expressed themselves in sport was in a way part of their masculinity, and to be assaulted during this time was a challenge to that concept of masculinity. And
we applaud the government we applauded the government when they first announced that they were going to have the Royal Commission into institutional abuse. The ramifications of what that has meant for Heartfelt House, though, our waiting list has doubled, if not more, and the inquiries from adult survivors, as well as from agencies and organisations wondering how to support adult survivors, has been markedly increased. We haven't had a flow-through effect on the funding for us to be able to support adult survivors. So what has happened is, whilst the demand for our program and demand for our skills and knowledge base have increased, and quite often that's from government organisations, New South Wales Health, we have not received any funding from the Royal Commission to help support that. The Royal Commission has been supporting the survivors of institutional abuse, but it has been triggering adult survivors of childhood abuse from across, who have been abused from within any form.
Victims of childhood sexual abuse also need healing, recovery, counselling, a community to love them back to life. Heartfelt House is part of that equation.